Before books filled our shelves, before stories were written down, they were carried by voices, around fires, across generations, from one traveler to another. Welcome to Fireside Stories. Tonight, let's revisit one of the tales that refused to be forgotten. Tonight's story comes from Japan's rivers. There is a creature in Japanese folklore that lives in rivers. It is roughly the size of a child. It has a beak like a turtle, a shell on its back, and webbed hands and feet. Its skin is green or yellow or blue, depending on the region, and its body smells like fish. On top of its head is a dish, a small, shallow depression filled with water. That dish is everything. As long as it stays full, the kappa is powerful. If it dries out, the kappa loses its strength entirely. This is why, if you encounter a kappa, there is one way to survive: bow. The kappa is obsessed with politeness. It cannot resist returning a bow, and when it bows, the water spills from the dish on its head, and the kappa is helpless. This is the creature that has lived in Japanese rivers for over 1,000 years, and the story of what it does, why it exists, and what it is actually warning people about is more interesting than the creature itself. The kappa, which means river child, appears in Japanese texts as far back as the 8th century. It is believed to inhabit rivers, ponds, and lakes across Japan, particularly in rural areas where communities depended on water for agriculture and daily life. Its behavior, depending on the tradition, ranged from mischievous to murderous. On the mischievous end, it stole cucumbers from farmers' fields. It played pranks on travelers. It challenged humans to sumo wrestling matches, which it was extraordinarily good at, but would always forfeit if you bowed first and it returned to the bow. On the murderous end, it dragged people and animals into the water and drowned them. It pulled horses into rivers by their legs, and in the most disturbing versions of the tradition, it extracted a specific organ, the shirikodama, a mythical organ believed to lie deep within the body, traditionally associated with the soul. The loss of the shirikodama left the victim an empty shell, dead, but not visibly marked. The kappa is, at its core, a warning. Japan is a country of rivers. For agricultural communities built around rice cultivation, rivers were both essential and dangerous. Children drowned in irrigation channels. Adults drowned in flooded fields. The river gave life and took it. A creature that specifically targeted children and dragged them beneath the water was not random invention. It was a way of teaching children to be afraid of water, specifically of the exact kind of water that killed children in rural Japan. The cucumber offering tradition, leaving cucumbers at the river's edge to appease the kappa, has been interpreted by folklorists as a ritualized form of the offerings that communities left at dangerous river crossings and fording points. The kappa absorbed and embodied the danger of the water. Appeasing it was a way of acknowledging that danger. The politeness element is specific to Japanese culture in a way that is worth sitting with. A creature that cannot resist returning a bow, that is literally incapacitated by social obligation, reflects a society in which politeness is so deeply embedded that even its monsters obey its rules. It's one of the folklore's strangest contradictions. The creature may drown you, but it is still too polite not to return a bow. The kappa is one of the most recognizable creatures in Japanese pop culture. It appears in manga, in anime, in video games, and in advertising. The word kappa is used colloquially in Japanese to mean a raincoat because the creature's image became associated with waterproof material. But it also still appears on warning signs. Near rivers and ponds in rural Japan, you can find signs that depict the kappa alongside warnings about swimming and water safety. The creature that was invented to keep children away from dangerous water is still being used for exactly that purpose, now in the form of a safety notice rather than a folk story told by a grandmother. The medium changed, the message didn't. When a culture preserves a warning across 1,000 years in the face of modernization and urbanization, and every force that destroys folk tradition, it is worth asking what the warning is protecting people from. In the Kappa's case, the river, the beautiful, necessary, indifferent river that was there before the warning signs and will be there after the last Kappa story is told. Today, The kappa occupies an unusual position in Japanese culture. It remains a genuine folkloric figure, but it is also a mascot, a cartoon character, a tourism symbol, and a safety educator. Entire towns celebrate Kappa festivals. Statues stand beside rivers. Children's books continue to retell the stories. Few creatures have transitioned so beautifully from feared spirit to cultural icon. The Kappa belongs to a much larger family of beings known as Yōkai. Japan has hundreds of them. Fox spirits, umbrellas that come alive, living shadows, animated household objects. Some are dangerous, some helpful. Many simply exist. Unlike monsters in Western folklore, yokai rarely represent absolute good or evil. They behave more like nature itself, capable of kindness, capable of cruelty, always deserving respect. We often think folklore survives because people believe it. More often, folklore survives because it remains useful. Children still learn to respect rivers, parents still tell stories, and somewhere beside quiet streams across Japan, little green statues still remind people not to get too close to the water. The kappa may never have existed, but the river always did. Every culture tells different stories, yet somehow they all speak to the same hopes, the same fears, and the same questions that make us humans. Thank you for joining me around the fire. Until next time, keep the stories alive.